Right, what's up everyone? Hope you all are doing well. Just thought I'd pop on, say hello. That's right, Bryant. Yeah, I think you commented that on the last video. Yankees Ichiro Suzuki was in the last video. I didn't even see that. You know, now it's funny because, you know, one of the crazy things about New York is you could be walking down the street at any time of day and you walk past probably some very notable people and you just don't even know it. You never know. Who knows? Paul, what's going on? Top Cat, Bryant, Susie K, Austin City Limits. Our gang is here. Philip says, hey Tom, it's good to hear from you. It's good to hear from you too. Mr. Garcia, welcome. Now we've been on a little bit of a live stream hiatus, as you may have noticed. However, we will, and I promise we will be getting back to our regular scheduled programming. I've just been working on some pretty interesting stuff, pretty exciting stuff, which has required me to be in Florida, and has been requiring me to be in the office pretty late. So we're getting ready to open up our office in Miami, and also have a few other ventures going on, which I'll key everybody in as it comes out. I just wanted to pop on really quick because there's been a lot of stuff going on in the market, lots of crazy stuff. I've been getting a wave of emails having me, what's my take on, DeepSeek, the new Chinese AI company and the like. I think it's very controversial, but in short, right, because it's almost midnight, I'd say in short, my take on DeepSeek, and I've downloaded it, I've used it. I think it's good. I think it's okay. But I think they are severely downplaying the amount of investment that they've made into that product, and the amount of Nvidia chips that they're actually using, right? Because what a lot of people don't understand is that Nvidia is not allowed to sell their chips to Chinese companies. So they've probably, what Elon Musk and many other experts are assuming is that they've probably bought some, Nvidia chips and the like off the black market and have used them to, develop their AI. It's a pretty impressive product, don't get me wrong. I've actually used it. I've downloaded it on my phone. I was playing around with it yesterday. It's all right. But we'll see. Now, interesting price action, though. If you noticed, Meta was the biggest winner of the day. Obviously, Nvidia got clocked. That was down, I think, double digits, almost 10% or a little bit over 10% on the day for Nvidia. But Meta caught a very, very nice bid and rallied all the way into a new record high. And their large language model, open source, is very good. So, the market's kind of showing us the winners and all but the losers. However, I will make a prediction, because if you've been scrolling through Twitter or social media, everybody's been in pandemonium over the DeepSeek, right? And saying that's why the market fell. I actually don't think that's the exact reason why the market fell. Right, you could just assign any old reason why the market went down. There doesn't really need to be a reason why the market went down. Right, we've been in a period of very, very low vol on the S&P. We've been hitting new record highs pretty much every day. Could this have been a catalyst? Sure. But my prediction is that I think within the next 1 or 2 months, kind of the DeepSeek noise will have been kind of washed away, and it wasn't the biggest boogeyman as a lot of people are making it out to be. But the city kind of looks dead tonight, doesn't it? But what do you guys think? I just wanted to pop on for like an hour or so, say what's up. I see Doc7. Good to see you. Hope you're well. Jack says the problem is it will get faster and cheaper to create AI. I don't think that's a problem. I think that's a positive, right? And I was talking about this with a friend today. With artificial intelligence, you're just seeing that technology curve accelerate, right? Think about, the first telephone when that came out. That was very, very expensive. The first cell phone, the first TV. There were TVs that were like $10,000. Now you could walk into any, Walmart and get a flat screen TV for like a couple $100. AI, the pace of innovation there is just unlike anything we've really seen. And as these large language models get trained on more and more amounts of data, the better they get. And I think that's another reason why you saw a big rally in Salesforce today. Benioff's company, Salesforce, and Facebook, Meta, right? So the companies who have the most amount of data, I think, are going to win this AI game. And Mark Zuckerberg has everybody's data, right? Quite obviously. And Salesforce has an unbelievable amount of data, right? A CRM. I'm sure many of you probably use it, or some sort of Salesforce product. But the companies who harness the most amount of data are going to win. I was reading this book. We've mentioned it before. It's called AI Superpowers by Dr. Kai-Fu Lee. And one of the things he said in the book is that data is the new liquid gold. Romero is they're going to try to put Mark in jail, push out Elon, and put Sam in charge. I don't know what that means, to be honest, but we'll see. Old Tape Archive, good to see you. This is AI litigation, maybe a real money play for the lawyers. Dav, what's going on? Good to see you. Tatted T, welcome. Jack says the AI stocks are going to crash. Well, Meta hit a new high today. I would consider Meta an AI stock, right? Meta is one of the leaders in AI. Theo says, I can't believe that people trust Chinese AI yet. Plus ban TikTok. Now that's another thing, like the national security risk. That's another point. Now, didn't at one point the CCP shut down? And look, it's been such a busy week for me. They are only allowing native Chinese citizens to register for DeepSeek now. But I downloaded it on my phone and I was playing around with it a little bit. Again, I think it's good. However, totally, right? I think all of the servers are in mainland China. So, all of your inputs and all of the data that you put into DeepSeek is 100% being harvested and sent to the CCP. Totally. I've kind of gotten to the point, like, Theo, I totally understand what you're saying, and it's totally correct, right? It's definitely a big CCP asset. However, I think we have reached the point in life where there is really no privacy anymore. And the amount of data that's out there on each and every one of us, including myself, is pretty unbelievable. Just like the lion's share of data out there. FBI, CIA, U.S. government pretty much knows everything about us, I think. Jax's big brother is watching. Someone says Grok is better. I've been using Grok slowly but surely. However, Perplexity AI is really my go-to, I would say. Perplexity AI is my go-to. Now, I think I was using ChatGPT the other night on mobile, And, I was playing around with it. And I was asking it, who's the president of the United States? And it's still spitting out that the president is Joe Biden. Now, I obviously understand that, the data that it's been trained on, if you're offline, hasn't been updated yet. But it was still kind of funny to just ask OpenAI's ChatGPT and DeepSeek, who the president of the United States is, and saying, no, the current president is still Joe Biden. It was quite funny. Anyway, we're walking down Central Park South. It is a quiet night in the city. I mean, these streets are so empty. It's kind of reminding me of the old days in the pandemic, right? DAV 3 Plus, as I prefer to use my brain. Well, pretty soon you're going to have a chip implanted in your skull, and you will become one with machine, my friend. That will happen in our lifetimes. Top Cats is the Google Street View. Oh yeah, I mean, that's another thing, right? Ube says, I like Perplexity, but sometimes Grok is a bit faster. Storm Rider says, anyone on Facebook already traded personal privacy for a quote-unquote free app? Yeah, that's a really good point. On all of these social media platforms, right? And I think we can get into a really, really long conversation about the benefits of it. But we as a society, including myself, has traded convenience and luxury for privacy, right? That is just the truth. So all of these apps, yeah, Facebook is free, Instagram is free, LinkedIn is free, right? There's some paid tiers of that, I guess. But we are paying them with our data, right? That's how Facebook was able to build such a lucrative advertising business, is because if anybody's ever ran a Facebook ad campaign, or meta ads, I guess is what we should call it now, it is so detailed, right? You can target specific demographics, you can target, income, you could target by job title. It gets very, very granular. And that is really to the benefit of a lot of these corporations, quite obviously, right? And small to medium-sized businesses too. But we've traded that. That's been the trade-off. Now, it's not my place to say whether that's good or bad, but I would say overall, the quality of life for everybody has gotten a lot easier, but we've just traded that for privacy, for sure. Hey, what's up, Alan? Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Scott, what's going on? Theos is just wait until someone's AI searches are used in a court case and people will realize it's all collected. But we are so fortunate to have such power at our fingertips. For sure. I absolutely agree. Maybe we'll continue to walk down Central Park South. It's kind of calming here. James B says one search gets you bombarded with ads. Yeah, and I mean, look, we can go down a big rabbit hole on that, but that is the truth. We have kind of traded privacy for convenience. Now, whether that's a good or bad thing, I mean, at some point, I enjoy the luxuries of life. I'm not going to speak for anybody else, but it's just, it is what it is, right? And I think in 50 years, we'll look back on this, and as a society, I think we'll have decided as a whole that it was the right decision, right? Everything's a little weird at first, but, as things go on, as life goes on, it definitely was the most appropriate choice. Ozzy, good to see you. This is Tom, I see you fixed your microphone. Problem from last week. What did you change? I think I just unplugged it and plugged it back in again, which is really probably the best troubleshooting thing for tech, that's for sure. tofu shoots as I get ads for things I never looked up online. Now, here's a kind of an argument where I tend to come to Mark Zuckerberg's defense, right? Everybody is very, very quick, and sometimes myself included, to kind of demonize and bastardize Zuckerberg and Facebook and Meta, and, kind of demonize, these billionaires. But if you think about, if anybody here runs a small to medium-sized business, the businesses that Meta has created and the access for small to medium-sized companies in the United States and globally is really unbelievable. You could scale a multiple six-figure business, multiple seven-figure business through Facebook and social media. Okay? So a lot of people like to call, Zuckerberg corporate greed, but if you really look at the benefits to small and medium-sized businesses, it's really unbelievable, right? Just the marketing. In 1995, you couldn't film a short video on Instagram Reels, post it, have it go viral, and then you have, hundreds of people showing up at your restaurant the next day because some Instagram Reel went viral, right? Cost you nothing. So it's the network effects, it's the targeted ads, and it really does help small, medium-sized businesses. I think it's a little bit unfair for people not to acknowledge that. And that's the truth. That really, really is the truth. Theos has agreed 100%. It has opened access to potential clients. Totally. Even with Alphabet and YouTube, right? Think about what we're doing now. I literally have a phone. I click live, a little button, and then we broadcast globally, and it costs all of us nothing, right? We can come in the chat, we can hang out, we can share our opinions, potentially do business together, and this is all free, right? Now, there's the trade-offs that we talked about in terms of the privacy and the data collection, but it's a big net positive, I think. Christian M says, Tom, not sure if you covered. What are your thoughts on Nvidia's slide today? Cheers. Well, I think Nvidia was really priced to perfection. And I think it's very important that some people don't get confused a stock's movement and assign a reason, right? Everybody's been assigning this reason that DeepSeek, the new Chinese AI platform that came out that was allegedly built with only $6 million, bootstrapped together by some of China's smartest engineers and funded by a Chinese hedge fund, that somehow makes Nvidia worthless. I don't think so. I think that is a very, how should I say this easily, emotional way to think about it. I think that is kind of very short-term thinking. What I like to consider it is the fog of war phase. That's what I like to think of it as. We can't trust even the GDP numbers that come out of China, right? We can't even trust the, economic data that comes out of the CCP. So to think, okay, and look, I'm not an expert in this stuff, but this is my take, and I'm giving you my honest take. To think that we should take everything they say at face value, that they built a product, right, that's allegedly as good, if not better, than ChatGPT, right, with $6 million, little to no funding, and they did it in 2 months without any, high-powered chips from the likes of Nvidia. I'm not buying it. Now, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'm not going to make this political, but go back to the Biden administration, go back to the Trump administration. Both administrations have been very kind of steadfast with, wanting to ban TikTok, right? Wanting to get the TikTok banned because we can't trust, anything that is coming out of China unless TikTok divests and sells to an American company. So if we don't trust the Chinese government, about what they're saying with TikTok, why should we trust the narrative that's being released now? That may be true. I don't know if it's true or not. That this is like an open AI killer. It's going to, you're not going to need any Nvidia chips. You're not going to need any chips. And it was built with $6 million. So I would say this is the fog of war phase. And we're probably going to get some commentary from some experts who are much smarter than I that will give their take on this over the next, 1 to 2 weeks. Now, I've downloaded DeepSeek. I've downloaded it. I've used it. I think it's all right. I think it's okay. Right? But I'm not a computer scientist. I'm not an engineer. But I don't think it's the, cataclysmic Armageddon that you saw kind of go down on CNBC today and Bloomberg and X. That's kind of my take. Hey, Bree Grams, good to see you. Yeah, townhouses out of China. How about American banking numbers at the Federal Reserve? For sure, for sure. That's kind of my take. But again, kind of going back to my point, you notice how every time, and this, I'm just going to go to any example, right? Anytime you turn on CNBC, anytime you turn on Bloomberg, if it's pre-market, power hour, if the market's up, the media assigns a reason. If the market's down, the media assigns a reason. You guys notice that? They'll say, oh, the market is down because of, this news. The market is up because of this news. How do you know? Right? The market doesn't have to go up or down based upon what you think. Right? And the reason why I say that is because in most recent news, which is yesterday, everybody's saying, oh, Nvidia is down 15% because of the DeepSeek news. Not necessarily. Right? That stock was priced top tick. It could have been a little bit of a catalyst, but stocks don't need a reason to go up and down. I'm not saying there's no reason at all, but usually the media takes the most hyperbolic narrative of the day, either up or down, and then they'll just assign the narrative. So, but again, there could have just been, a fund out there that was very, very overweight, XYZ stock. If they're going to sell down that position, if they're going to sell billions of dollars worth of stock, that stock is going to go down, right? So we'll see. But the market is definitely priced top tick. However, you did have other companies, big tech companies like Meta, hit a new all-time record high today. And their large language model is open source. Hey, LS, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. We're now right outside of the Trump International Hotel and Tower, 1 Central Park West. And the city, I know it's late at night. I know it's almost midnight right now. But I haven't seen the city this dead since the pandemic. It's peaceful, but it's a little strange. I'll say that. Flat Smack, what's going on? Bryant Lopez, welcome. At least it's warming up a little bit. At least that. Room C, what's going on? Hope you're well. Hope everything's going good with you. How long does it take me to get home? I'll be home in like 15 minutes. I can walk. But Arun, what is your take on DeepSeek? Have you used it? I've played around with it for the past, yesterday. Interested to think what you think. Or interested to know what you think. Now again, the way I use AI isn't the same way like a software engineer uses AI, right? I'd use it for like mundane tasks like many of you would. So I use GPT, I use Perplexity. I don't think I'll use DeepSeek, but I have it downloaded and I've played around with it. Arum C says I've used it, I'm somewhat impressed. I'm kind of skeptical in the data of the hardware and the funding they have. Yeah, well, that's something we talked a little bit about. Now, my whole thing was, now apparently the narrative, right, is that they built it, they bootstrapped it on like $6 million, and I don't really, I guess the whole point is, due to the restrictions, right, Chinese companies aren't allowed to buy Nvidia chips. So obviously they can't say, yeah, we have a ton of Nvidia product that we've used to build our product. But according to some experts out there, they have quite the bit of firepower, let's just say, to build their product. But yeah, I think if you were a person in the market today that was just fire sailing your stocks because of DeepSeek news, I think that's very poor timed and ill-willed, I think. That's just my view. Arum C says the U.S. has strict policies to prevent China from getting Nvidia chips. So they're practically getting those chips. Well, I think they're probably getting them from the black market, right? So that's kind of the $1 million question. So we'll see. I mean, I've downloaded it. I think it's good. I think it's a good product. Richard Ta. I did see that. Yeah, they canceled One Brickell City Center. They hired a broker to sell the land development. I did see that. Yeah, I wonder what they're going to make of that. It's very interesting. Now, there's so much. That's kind of what I was thinking. You know, the CFO of Blackstone gave a really good interview. This was probably, I want to say, maybe 4 months ago. And he used this analogy when he was looking at the Austin, Texas market. And he's like, usually when you see cranes everywhere in the sky, that's kind of when the market is a little bit frothy and overdone, right? That doesn't mean you're going to get an Armageddon crash. That just kind of means you're a little bit frothy. And whenever I go to Miami, I mean, I live there, I have property there. If you go down Biscayne Boulevard, right, going into downtown Miami, Brickell, there's cranes everywhere. Not only is there residential product being built, but there's a lot of commercial office being built too. I mean, you have One Bayfront Plaza. I'm not sure if you saw that construction site, which is right across the street from the 200 Southeast Financial Center. That parking garage is getting torn down now. So, I mean, there's so much new office space that's going to be coming on the market. I mean, we'll see. Eyeglass Lady says, Tom, are you familiar with Gerald Clemente? He is in New York and publishes an online magazine about various trends. I think it's called the Trends Journal by Jared Clemente. Or Gerald Clemente, yes. Yes, I am familiar. He's a good guy, but he's like a perma bear. And he's very like doom and gloom. He's a fun guy, though. He's a real old school New York guy. Good guy, though. But yeah. I know who he is, but he's very. I respect his work, but if you looked at my book over the last 7 years, it's been probably, a good 65% of the time max long the market. It's just very, very, because look, at the end of the day, a lot of these guys are very persuasive, and a lot of these guys and girls, right, analysts out there, they're right, but nobody knows when the party is going to be over, right? I think the famous saying out of the financial crisis was, so long as the music is playing, you got to keep on dancing, right? And many of the perma-bears on Wall Street over the last decade, really ever since the Obama administration, has severely underestimated how long the Federal Reserve can continue to keep the balls in the air, so to speak, right? And a decade of artificially suppressed interest rates has caused a technology boom in the US, because what it's essentially allowed is all of these tech companies, all of these SaaS companies, to operate at losses for extreme prolonged periods of time, because they could just either do another raise, they could issue debt at very, very cheap rates, and essentially get free money. If you had high interest rates, it would be very difficult for any of these SaaS companies to get off the ground, like they've gotten off the ground over the last decade, in my opinion. So now a lot of those businesses are cash generative heavy, right? So it could be argued that the decade of ZIRP, zero interest rate policy, has poured kerosene on the fires of the tech boom, in my view, right? Yeah, Jack's 0% interest rates for too long, QE, possible trouble ahead, for sure. And I mean, that's the $1 million question, right? As we look at Central Park Tower, the $1 million question is the following, right? When does the market kind of unwind from all this QE? And maybe it doesn't need to, right? If you want, and I always kind of revert back to this interview that Andrew Ross Sorkin did with Ken Griffin, right, CEO of Citadel, a few months ago at the DealBook Summit, right there at Deutsche Bank Tower. And one of the things that Ken said, which kind of piggybacking off of your point, is something needs to be done about these ballooning deficits, because we can't live in an environment, a perpetual environment of QE. We can't do it. So the thing that we should focus on, in his point, is growing the economy, right? He said and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, right? But what some of the Republicans get wrong on one side of the aisle, right, is you got to cut spending. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. However, what is the side of the equation that is exponential? Right? If I make $100,000 a year and I spend $99,000 a year, how much can I save? Right? I can bring my spending down to zero, but I can make my earnings on the other side of the equation theoretically unlimited, right? In theory. So his whole thing is, with AI, with all these tools, with all this innovation boom, if we can focus on individual employee productivity, American productivity, and grow GDP maybe at 4 to 5% a year due to AI, then we could possibly get ourselves out of this mess, right? And I think that's what a lot of perma-bears could potentially be underestimating. The ability for America to grow our way out of this problem. And I think they may pull it off. I mean, okay, listen to this, right? And not to ramble on too much. I know it's midnight. everybody probably watched some of the inauguration, right? I know there's a lot of people in the audience who don't like Trump. I respect it. I get it. However, the point is, if you watch the inauguration, think about the intellectual capital that was up on that stage, right? Regardless of if you're a Democrat or Republican, like, if we're being honest with ourselves, it's like, my God, every single, like, the brain power, okay? All the major tech CEOs were there, okay, behind Trump. Elon was there. After the inauguration, you had Musk's son fly in. You had Oracle's Larry Ellison up there talking about cancer vaccines. So we quite literally, in the United States of America, in the same room, right, not kind of talking hyperbolic, but quite literally, in the same room, working on all of these problems, right, working on AI, working on the best medical advancements. They're here doing it, right, from all sides of the aisle. You had the CEO of Microsoft there. You had the CEO of Alphabet there. You had, former CEO of Amazon, Bezos was there. Zuckerberg was there. Musk was there. Everybody, Larry Ellison. I don't know if I want to bet against those guys, right? I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but, I kind of know how to... If I'm at the racetrack, I'm not going to bet on the horse, who just got shot in the leg, right? I'm going to bet on the horse who has 4 legs and is looking pretty jacked, right? I'm not going to bet on the horse who's handicapped. And this horse that is the United States of America does not look handicapped, okay? We have the intellectual power and the capacity over the next decade. I don't know if I would want to bet against that, right? Now, in the interim, I'm not saying that that doesn't mean the market's going to go down. There's going to be bear markets, but over the long term, if we're talking about a 5 to 10 year time horizon, if I had a gun to my head and I could only do one thing for the next 5 or 10 years, long or short, long, and let me lever that up, right? So that's kind of the way I see the big picture. Someone says, how are you going to grow without debt? That's the $1 million question. And by the way, I don't think Trump is going to reduce spending. Trump is a debt guy, okay? Trump is a real estate guy. You ever talk to a real estate guy that doesn't have a debt? I mean, come on. That's a good point. That's a really good question. PG80 says, hey, Tom, glad to catch you. New York City is looking spectacular. It is, and New York City is looking pretty quiet, too. I mean, this is 8th Avenue, and almost not a soul out here. Jordan's, just because you got money doesn't mean you're smart. LS says, I love how everyone just accepts Zuckerberg's apology. Jordan says, oligarchy. Well, I think it's fair to say that Elon Musk is a pretty sharp guy. I think that's fair. Jeff Bezos, pretty sharp guy. I think he's a smart guy. Mark Zuckerberg, pretty sharp. Larry Ellison, pretty smart, right? I mean, we may not agree with their political opinions, but in terms of raw IQ points, they're pretty high up there, I think. Clara says, I think you're going to be disappointed in 4 years, Tom. I don't think you really understand what is really going on in our country now, Tom. Maybe I don't. Nothing is guaranteed. JC, what's going on? JC, we also got some big Bitcoin news. Sob 121 is looking like it's getting out of here, which is great. Which, for those of you who don't know, it's a big topic in the crypto and Bitcoin world around banks being able to custody Bitcoin and digital assets. So I think you're going to see an entire industry, big business, custody business, open up on Wall Street. I'm curious to see what Times Square looks like. I have to head over to 39th Street anyway, so we'll head over. Hey Martin, this is Grimsby, Ontario here. Good to see all of our friends in Canada. Welcome to New York City at almost midnight. We're here on 50th Street. This is the C&E train station. Now, speaking of the Federal Reserve, we're going to hear from them this week. Should be quite interesting. Now, Trump is definitely an eventful one, right? Now, he's been very outspoken in saying that we need lower interest rates. We need lower interest rates. So he's going to apply the pressure, right? The theoretical pressure on Powell to cut interest rates. But maybe what Mr. Trump doesn't realize, right? And this isn't getting political, but it's just kind of what's happening in the market. You know, the curve, the yield curve, pretty much across the board, 10-year Treasury really blew out after the Fed started their cutting cycle, right? So interest rates on a lot of the products that consumers would use, right? Like a mortgage, for example, 30-year fixed rate mortgage, those interest rates are higher now than prior to the rate cuts by the Fed. Right, so markets are dynamic, and what do you think bond traders are trying to signal to the market? I think that's the million-dollar question, right? Perhaps a little bit of a calculated error. Ooh, it is windy. I don't know if you guys could see that, but the wind is really, really picking up here in New York. Man. Hey, sunshine after rain. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. We're now looking down into Times Square. Jax's cold front is passing through, big winds arriving. Another cold front? It feels like we just got out of a cold front in New York. I will say, I don't know if this is an accurate statement, but it feels like it. This is one of the coldest winters I remember in a really, really long time in New York. Seriously. It's usually never, 18 degrees, 11 degrees, 22 degrees in Manhattan. In the winter, it's usually, mid-30s, high 30s. It's very, very seldom in the teens. I don't know what the heck is going on, but it's cold. Usually not this cold. It's usually this cold in upstate New York, right? If you live in, central New York, it'll be 20 degrees every day in the winter, and that's normal, right? At night, it'll get into the teens, but not in the city. Not on Long Island. This has been nuts. Anyway, even in Miami, when I was in Miami, it was pretty cold. 65 degrees. I know that doesn't sound cold, but that's cold for Florida, right? And at night, getting down to like 55 degrees for South Florida, that's pretty cold. And I think 2 days ago it was 39 degrees in Miami-Dade County overnight. If you could believe that. James Beach, Florida, warming up now at least. That's good. Barb's is just like that now in Syracuse. Yeah, I'm sure you guys probably have a ton of snow on the ground too. Now, my boss was on News Nation, I think, this morning or the morning before, talking about Buffalo, New York. The residential real estate market. A lot of people have been moving to Buffalo, which I was kind of surprised by. Anybody here from Buffalo? Is there any new industry moving there? Or there's been a lot of young families moving and purchasing property in Buffalo, New York. It's a little bit too cold for me and a little bit too snowy for me, but Jax is north of Buffalo. The suburbs are beautiful. I can imagine, but I don't know if I'd be able to do that snow. What's up, T-Cal? All right, we're on 48th Street now. And we're going to walk right into the belly of the beast. Times Square. Which appears to be pretty empty tonight. Jax's Amherst, New York has been voted the nicest town in America to live. You know what's a town in upstate New York that's quite nice? Actually more than quite nice, particularly in the summer. Skinny Atlas, New York. That's an awesome little town. Now the lake is one of the cleanest fresh bodies of water in the world. And all along the lake, they have vineyards. But that's like really, really expensive property up there. But that is quite nice. Now today, you know where I was today? I was in New Rochelle, New York today. And I haven't been in New Rochelle, oh my God, I couldn't tell you how long. Man, that place has changed so much. I'm not sure if any of you, maybe back in the day, you've been to New Rochelle for whatever reason. If you go back, I mean, it looks like a mini kind of cityscape is being built there. There's some big high-rise, luxury condos, luxury rental buildings being built up there all along the train, and the apartments are pretty nice. They overlook the Long Island Sound. You can see views of Manhattan. You can see all the way out to Long Island. I mean, New Rochelle, I think that's one to watch. I mean, I think that neighborhood over the next 5 years is going to continue to get more and more expensive, because if you think about the comparables, what you can get, right? Let's just use them in Midtown Manhattan, okay? If you're going to spend $3,000 on a one-bedroom apartment in Midtown Manhattan, it is not going to be nice. It's going to be a very, very old building, probably a pre-war building, and it's going to be infested with roaches. It just is, right? But if you go up to New Rochelle, which is only a 30-minute train ride, only a 30-minute train ride away from the city, you can have a very, very nice building with a lot of amenities for $3,000. So you're probably going to see a lot more New Yorkers migrate north as some of those neighborhoods get a little bit better. control what's going on. Oh, that's right, Chinese New Year. Very cool. Animal says you can't find a decent place for 3,000. In Manhattan, if you want to be in a good location, it's hard. You know, it's going to be small, it's going to be old. You can probably get a one-bedroom apartment in New Rochelle in a new building, maybe 750 square feet, which is pretty big, for right around 2,800, 3,000 perhaps. And it'll be in a really nice building. You know, you'll have swimming pool, you'll have a gym, you'll have, you know, a sauna, a movie theater, everything. It's really cool seeing the 2025 numerals up top. Hey, Triple G says, hey Tom, in New Rochelle you get nice views of the Long Island Sound, plus Trump Tower is in their vicinity. I was there today. I was at the Trump Tower in New Rochelle today. Now, what's another kind of up-and-coming place in America, right? We talked about Buffalo. I think Philly in general, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. No, excuse me, not Philly. I was going to say Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is making a major, major comeback. A huge return, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And there's like a big foodie town scene over there in Pittsburgh. Christians is Columbus, Ohio. Bucks is Greenville, South Carolina. Raleigh. Scranton. Hey, out and about. What's going on? Yeah, I just wanted to pop on, say what's up to everybody. I know it's late. It's after midnight, but...
Buffalo, fight a bear together.
Sonny says, why are you up so late? We're just burning the midnight oil. Just hanging out. Actually, I have to be up early. Caitlin says, I'm in Pittsburgh. We're getting a lot of relocators. Yeah, I have a few friends who've gone to Pittsburgh over the last few years. Anyway, I know it's midnight. I just wanted to pop on, say hello. We will be getting back to our normal streaming schedule. However, I may create a new schedule. Okay, but that's to be determined. We may start these a little bit earlier now, right around 7, maybe 7:30 p.m. I haven't decided yet, but we will see. Okay, so we will be back live tomorrow, 8:45, per normal, per usual. Okay, but going forward, maybe in March, we may have to move the stream back to like 7 and go to about 9 p.m. I'm not sure, but I will let you know. Anyway, if you guys enjoyed, feel free to leave a like on the video, subscribe if you're new. It's good to see you, good to talk to all of you. And hopefully you guys are having a good new year so far. Good 2025. God bless, stay safe, and we'll talk to you all tomorrow. So Mark, thank you so much. Out and about, TD, T-Cal, Jack Jackson, B-Ball, Caitlin the Realtor, thank you. Chloe, appreciate it. Stephen Bate, FredX, God bless, as always. Armando, cheers. Mohammed, appreciate you. Steve CR, I'll leave you guys off with the American flag. And we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.